Welcome to our show, and it's just so great to have you. You know, it's our 1 year anniversary, and so we thought we'd have a special guest come back, and because that's sort of symbolic of our relationship and how we became friends years ago. Can you tell everyone listening the story about how we actually met?
Well, Marty, it's like another life in a way for me. It was back in my baseball days at Columbus State University, and we were running a summer baseball camp, and it was about this time of the year. It was hot, and we had our younger kids coming out in the morning, and I want to say, gosh, it seemed like we started at about 9 o'clock and had those guys out there till around 11 or so. A couple hours was good for them, and that was, gosh, it seems like we started at about 9 or 10 years old and went up through 12, maybe 13. And then in the afternoon, we'd take a lunch break and come back in the afternoon. And we'd go from 1 until we were just gone. So it's sometimes 4 or 5 o'clock. And that was the older kids. And that's when Chip Durden showed up to camp. And we were teaching skills and stuff and playing games. And I kept noticing there was these two guys every day standing out on the bank behind the left field wall. And it was Marty, it was you, and it was good gracious, his name just lost me. Our judge friend from over in Buena Vista,
Wayne Jernigan.
Yes, Wayne Jernigan, because Luke, his son, was at camp as well. And I see these two, fine gentlemen standing up on the hill, and I just started wandering up there, started, hey, how you doing? I'm Coach Reese. And from there, well, here we are today. And we have been through the ringer together. We have sat in the dugout in uniform together. We have, we've attended meetings. We've started organizations. It's just been an absolute incredible trip, Marty, to be here. And I'm honored to be here on the 1 year anniversary of this show. Absolutely honored.
Well, it's been a wonderful friendship, and it's so deep. It's more like a brotherhood. We've been through good times. We've been through bad times. We've watched our sons. You got to coach my son. I got to coach your son. It's just been a heck of a bond between two guys, and here we are getting a little older, and you and Margie, Diane, and I, we've been friends for the 90s, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Well, I tell you, you talk about Diane and Margie as well. I know Margie and I, we've gone to San Antonio for a meeting. I'd switched over and I was doing not the admission work at that point, but doing dean of students work, conduct, behavior intervention, all that type of work, trying to keep campuses safe. And so I was in San Antonio, and I remember I gave you a call out there and said, hey, Margie and I drove out and we're getting ready to drive back. You were in Houston and said, we've got to come right through Houston. Is there any way? And before I could finish the sentence, you said, I'm going to send you the address of a little restaurant over there that we go to. And you say, what day are you coming through? Yeah, you didn't say, well, let me check and see if we're free. You said, what day are you coming through? And we sat there. I tell you, we had so much fun just sitting there and seeing you guys again.
It was awesome. And I think one of the signs of a good friendship is you just take up where you left off. Don't need constant attention. You got this such a deep understanding of each other that you realize each one of us have our own separate lives and own separate callings. And so it doesn't take a lot of upkeep, it's a relationship that grows. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yes, sir. I've got a lot of acquaintances, a lot of people that, when I see them, we sit and visit. I've got just a handful of people, what you just described, where I can go weeks, months, and sometimes, even a year or more without making that contact. But when we do, it's like it was yesterday. It really is. It's just absolutely like it was yesterday. We catch up, but we only catch up just so that we can then have a deep conversation about what's really going on with life. Just a small handful. And brother, you're one of them, man. You are absolutely one of them.
Yeah, same to you. I tell you, it's just, I think you make me better. I hope I make you better, but you certainly made me a better man, and I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. When you asked me to be here, you start thinking, about what do we need to talk about and such. And so you just teed me up on something that I had written down over here, maybe to bring up, is that my favorite Bible verse, and it's because it's got my numbers. It's got 27, it's got 17. I was 27 in high school, was 17 in junior college. And then when I went off to West Georgia, I was 27 again, then coached, and I was 27 forever. But Proverbs 27:17, it says, as iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another. And that's my favorite Bible verse because of the relationship like with you. And then I think the coaching, I really believe that our job is to help sharpen young men and help grow them into that next group of leaders that we have. So I hang on that Bible verse 27:7 in Proverbs. It means something to me personally and professionally.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that verse. It is so appropriate in what we do, because coaching. I think you viewed it the same way I did. It's not just a job. It's a call. It's a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think? What happened in your life when you were young? I know your dad was a great influence in your life, and Kyle, of course, your brother, who's also a great coach and been a guest. Hey, you're the only brothers that have been a guest, by the way.
Well, I tell you, my brother Kyle, if he wasn't my brother, I would seek him out and hope he'd be my friend. That's the kind of guy that he is. And I watched the episode when he was on there, and it took me back in time as well. The stories that he was telling about our dad growing up, because our dad was a fireman, so it's like 24 on and 48 off, and so we had the opportunity as kids growing up. I mean, he would work 24, and then the next couple of days, especially during the summer, well, man, we'd be at the ball field. Really, we could be there all day while everybody else was working, and they maybe couldn't be there, be on the field. We had the whole place to ourselves: the batting cages, the fields, ground balls, and just had our own coach, because Dad had played, I won't say 5 years minor league ball. He got to AAA at one point, didn't stay long, but he got to AAA. But he's played in old Class D ball, and was on the old bus rides going through Texas and Mississippi and such like that. So the best coach I ever had was my dad, and
wow.
We had an opportunity, growing up together, to do that. And then when I took the job at Kennesaw, he lived right around the corner at Kennesaw, so he was like my chief scout. And when I was doing tryouts, man, he'd throw on the uniform, and he stood there with a clipboard. He had me run tryouts and such. So all of a sudden, my best coach ever was now my assistant and my chief scout. And have a chance to do that was just incredible. It really was.
So he had a big part, a big influence in you becoming a coach, and Kyle as well.
Yeah, sure did. I saw something the other day. I just want to throw this in too. It's not baseball, but I was browsing, flipping my phone through stuff, and I saw something the other day. You remember those old high karate commercials about that cologne for men?
We're dating how old we are, but yes, I do remember those.
Well, and I sent this off to my siblings, that my mom thought it would be just fun, and so she got him a bottle of that high karate for Christmas, and so he splashed some on, and he came out. This was Christmas Day. He came out and he jumps in the living room and he jumps down like this. He goes, "High karate," right? And for about the next month, he would just jump into a room. He'd come around and just all of a sudden jump into the kitchen and just scream, "Hi, karate!" And, we'd be watching TV, and all of a sudden he'd just jump in, just come running in and jump right in the middle of the living room and scream, "Hi, karate!" Well, for about a week, it was funny, to mom, and then it wasn't funny for her anymore. And the rest of us, the kids, every time he did it, we were just rolling and giving him energy, more and more energy. And so after about really a full month or so, then it was like, okay, Dad, that's enough, right? And then about 3 months in, he keeps going and keeps going. Mom goes and gets the bottle and pours it out, comes in and has an empty bottle in front of her. She said, "That's enough. Just quit it. You just got to quit it." And so, the humor that he had in everything that he did, he's serious about everything, but the humor that he had in everything that he did, and then watching our parents grow up because, Dad's cutting grass and he's going by the kitchen window, and Mom, take that little hose on the sink and she's squirting him out the window and hitting him with that cold water when he goes by. You hear him hollering, "Ah!" As he's cutting grass. He goes about 3 or 4 times, and she's hitting him every time. Well, she'll hear the mower running, and she calls us in, so we're all laughing, right? And the mower's running, but he's not coming by. It's like, well, what's going on? She can look around the corner trying to see where he is. Well, he shows up. He comes through the front door, and he walks into the kitchen, and he's got the garden hose, and he just blasts her right in the middle of the kitchen with the hose, and now we're all laughing and such. And so we had just such a great time growing up. Our parents, they were tremendous examples for a relationship, for a loving relationship, for humor, for family. Married well over 50 years, and I don't know. I just when I you bring that up, and it's just I think about how the example of being a coach and such, but just the example of being a man and learning how to be a man with a family and responsibility, taking care of your family, teaching your sons, teaching your daughter what to look for in a spouse one day, how to find a godly man and a spouse, and then just laughing every single day. And so I've tried to grow up and exemplify that. Work hard, do the right thing by people, and laugh every single day.
Yeah, that's a great philosophy, and I'm telling you, the things your dad taught you are so very evident, and I see those same things in Seth's life. Your son, and he's kind of still in ministry himself, and your 2 daughters, and I tell you, it's a tree that you plant with deep roots when you have a family figure like your mom and dad who loved each other, and I just feel for these kids who don't have that. We in all the research we do now, and I want to talk a little bit more about that research too while we're on the air here. But it seems like one of the biggest issues that we see, one of the biggest obstacles, is a single parent homes, and that number is growing. Continue to grow. And what I've found in the research is that in most states, it's somewhere between a third and a fourth of kids. It doesn't occur in states evenly,
Yeah.
But what it has is about 80% of the time it's a single parent. It's the mother, the absent father. And it just seems like boys maybe, and I don't know, I don't have any research to back this up, but it seems like maybe boys, without that model that you and I had in our dads, they don't know exactly how to handle and navigate things in life. It seems to me, I guess what I'm saying is maybe it affects boys more than it does the girls in the family. Now, that's nothing scientific, and I may be wrong on that, but it just seems like that may be true. What are your feelings on that? On it? One,
Well, I agree. I've read a lot of studies as well. I wish I could just pull them off the shelf and give you the bibliography on it, but I've read much of the same research, and um, the men that are raised without a man in the home, there's a huge hole, there's a gap
yeah,
in,
uh-huh.
and it's hard to overcome. I think that's why out in our communities, coaches and teachers, serving as mentors, and when you find that single mom that's bringing a kid, let's just say to a little league field, and she's taking that effort not only get the kid involved in playing a sport or something, but trying to get her son around other men and how important it is to be that godly presence and be, if you want to say that manly man, whatever that is today. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing to say, but to be a good example. Um, and part of that good example is, I think, is understanding that, and this is hard, especially for young coaches. I hope that I got it earlier than some, and Marty, I learned a lot of this from you as well. That you're going to win and lose ball games. You may win a championship, may not win a championship, year to year, but you're changing lives of human beings. You're growing young boys into men that are going to be the next leaders in our society and the next leaders in our communities. And especially where I was at the college level. Now, Coach Durden, being college golf coach over there, right? Been on the college level. We understand that you've got to put enough wins up on the scoreboard. There is a scoreboard, and you're
Yeah,
matched up against, and
true.
you've got to produce there. But if that is the end game, you're going to miss out.
Mm-hmm.
If you're developing young men or women, for coaches, if you're developing young people to be the leaders that they need to be as they grow up, wins and losses are going to happen. You're going to be okay there, right? But that's
Yep.
got to come first. It actually has to come first. And it's kind of like my relationship between my children and with Margie and such. And I told Seth this years ago. I said years ago, I said, "Something you got to understand something, son. We had you, okay? I picked her, right?
Yeah.
So
Good point.
I have to be a good husband to be a good father. It's really, really hard to be a good father and not be a good husband. I've seen very, very few examples of that. If you're a good husband, you will be a good father. So that relationship is the one that is absolutely first and foremost. And I think, God tells us that too, that, the man will leave his mother and the woman will leave her home, and they will become, one together in flesh. They will become one, in thought and purpose, and as they move forward. And I think some of what we see with the breakup of the moms and dads, and again, working in college for years as a dean of students, Margie working in mental health and being a counselor, an LPC, working mostly with young children, elementary and middle school kids. That's been really her life's work as well. What we see is that breakup in that home a lot of times comes from the husband and wife not putting that relationship first. That they sink everything into the kids, and as the kids start growing older, then they start staying with the children and they forget about the relationship that they had. So as the children grow up and out, that sometimes you see somebody about the time they'll get the last kid out of the house, parents get a divorce. There's nothing there for them, and so Margie and I, we've had the opportunity to do some parenting classes from time to time, and we spend more time in a parenting class talking about the relationship between the husband and the wife, more so than the relationship with the kids.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same way. God teaches that to us, that this relationship comes first, right? Because if that doesn't come first, it's hard to have any other. It's just hard to have any other.
It is. And being coaches, a coach's wife has some unique problems because
Yeah.
we are. How many days have you spent away from your own children with someone else's
Yeah.
children? You know, like I know we used to go to basketball camps uh, on Father's Day every year. We were gone, you know, and my sons were not always with me on those trips. So sometimes the challenges are that are unique to a coach
Hmm.
are, gosh, it's a big hill to climb, isn't it? Sometimes.
It is.
How did you navigate that, Chip, when you were in that dugout?
It's a funny story. This goes back to Kennesaw, I think it's a great story. It's a little humbling to me, all right, because I had to learn something along the way. But we were at Kennesaw, and or I'll put it this way: I was at Kennesaw, and if you understand the geography of Atlanta, Kennesaw is up 75 north of Atlanta,
Uh-huh.
and coaches back in those times, that was in the 80s, coaches didn't make a whole lot of money, right?
That's the truth.
Now, today, college coaches do pretty well today. Back then, they didn't make it as much as high school coaches many times, and I was well below that when I got to Kennesaw back, I was say in '86. And so Margie had a full-time job as well, and that was on the south side of town, down around Fairburn, Union City. Uh, and we were house parents at Christian City. We had a van. We had 9 kids. Seth had just been born. He was an infant. And so I'd get up in the morning. I'd leave the house at probably 5:30, 6 o'clock and drive across Atlanta to get to Kennesaw for like my 8 o'clock PE class that I was teaching. And so a day could go like this. I could be teaching PE by 8 o'clock, and in doing a health science class later on, have lunch, and then I'm on the field, getting the field ready for practice or a ball game or something. And then that afternoon, if it's say practice is over with, or maybe we're done with the ball game, then I'm jumping in the car and driving across town to Sprayberry or North Cobb High School to see somebody play because I'm recruiting, and I'm out there. I'm on the sitting in the stands watching somebody talking to their parents up until about 9:30, 10 o'clock or so, or maybe I'm getting back off a bus where we had a road trip, and I'm getting off a bus at 1 o'clock in the morning back at Kennesaw with a good hour, 20-minute drive back across town home to turn around and go back for an 8 o'clock class. So those times I just slept in my office. Uh, and it was tough, but hey, I was going to be the next Bear Bryant of college baseball, right? Well,
Yep.
here's where the humbling part comes, right? That Margie, again, we're at Christian City down there, and they had counselors and such at that point as well for the kids and such. Margie comes to me, I guess probably we just had started my second year at Kennesaw, and she comes and says, "Yeah, I've been having some trouble with some things." And I'm talking to Horace, and Horace was a counselor on campus, and she said, Horace said it might be good if he met with you and visited a little bit. And so this is what I'm thinking. All right, so what I'm thinking is, well, I'm glad that Margie sought some help with her problem, and now Horace wants to see me, the man, and so Horace and I we'll sit down and talk a little bit. We'll get Margie straight so that she's okay, right? I go see Horace, and I find out I'm the problem. And Marty, that just crushed my soul because everything that I did, and I think this is how sometimes the break happens. I was getting up and I was going, sure, I was trying to be the Bear Bryant of college baseball, but everything I do, I was working camps and clinics and everything I could do, making a dollar, trying to take care of this family that I love so much back home. And in the process of doing it, I was about to lose that family.
Wow.
And it just about crushed me. So this is what Horace told me. He said, first, he said, when you go home, be home. You got to be present, right? You got to be where you are and not physically be one place and somewhere else. Margie put it to me differently years later. She said, look down, see where your feet are, right? And wherever your feet are, get your head and your heart there because that's where you are. So you might as well be there. Okay. And so Horace told me that. He said, when you go home, be there. He said, also buy an answer machine. He says, you walk in the door and the phone rings. So you'll come in with a slip of paper and say, hey, it's good to see you guys. I got to call this guy because I need to know who's pitching tomorrow night over at North Cobb High School, right? Because I'm trying to do some recruiting. He said, if you got to work, then stay out of the house. He said, when you go home, you got to be there. And he said, and listen. He said, listen with intent when she's talking about anything. And so that's kind of where, sometimes we're Facebook friends, and every now and then you'll see a picture of like feet, right? You'll see shoes. We're pointing the camera down, and you'll see 4 or 5, different feet down in there. And the people that know us, they just know that is just saying we're here, right, together, and our feet, our head, and our heart are here, and we're just sharing with people that we care about that this is, if you want to say an example, get your head and your heart where your feet are. We're here today. I used to do that with my mom. Whenever I was with my mom, I'd take a picture of my feet, with my mom's feet, and I'd send it to my siblings. And I was like, having a great day. Here with mom, having a great day. So I guess if anything, as a young coach, get after it, but don't lose why you're doing what you're doing. Don't lose that. Don't lose what you said in front of people one day, in front of God, and said, forsaking all others, I choose you, and I say I do. Don't lose
that. That's great advice. If there's a young coach out there listening, I couldn't think of a more appropriate 5 minutes or whatever that we just spent they could profit from by listening to that. Because the biggest regrets I've had in coaching, and look, I've made some boneheaded decisions. I've actually made decisions that lost games. We've all done that. But the biggest regrets in my life are the time away from my family. The biggest thing, and I can't go back and fix that. I think I ignored some attention that needed to be given to my sons and my wife down through the years. Hey, they've forgiven me. We've come through it. We're strong together. We love each other. But if I had my life to live over, I would have listened to your advice that you just gave then 30 years ago. And I think I would be a better man today as a result of that. Be where you are. Be where you are. Man, that's great advice.
And Marty, I wish I could say that I've lived that every moment, but you slide backwards in what you're doing, and you just somehow you got to get back on track. Somebody, I'm trying to think where I got this. Somebody told me one time, said, make a list of the priorities in your life. Okay, whatever, make a little list, take a little, and I somewhere back there I got it in my wallet, and just stick it in your wallet, and said every now and then pull it out and look at it. He said, but mostly what you want to do is you want to pull it out when things aren't going right. And my list, when I put it out, it was God, husband, father, family, like all the rest of the family, right? Friends, job, okay? And that was the order of my that I put in priorities, for me in my life. And when things started getting weird, whatever weird is for whoever, it's like, well, we just aren't getting along or whatever. Something's just not right. You pull that out and you think, what have I been doing? If I grab my calendar and I look at my calendar, and if I grab my checkbook and I look at my check, where have I spent my time and my money in the last 30, 60 days? Where do I put my time and my money? Because that will show up on your little list of things. And if it's maybe, you've been golfing too much with the guys, or you've been spending a lot of time at work, and you've been traveling to do this and this, it's like, well, something's out of order here. And the thing that's out of order is going to scream at you. Right. And when I say scream with the intent of not screaming that, but it's going to scream off that paper at you. Right. So, it's like you look down there and you go, husband, wow, that just hit you in the head. I got to go fix that. Right. Or, being a father. Boy, when was the last time that I took Morgan, say, on just a daddy-daughter movie date? Just me and her. We just went, grabbed something at Moe's, and then went and saw a movie, then went home. When's the last time I did that? Man, it's not on my calendar. Not the last 60 days. I got to change that, right? Speaking of daughters, Aiden told me to tell you, hey, Marty. She knew I was going to be with you. She said, tell Marty.
I appreciate that.
So, but I'll just say, get your priorities, write them down, right? Have them on a little card. And when you feel like something is just out of whack, take a look at it. It will scream off the page at you. It's kind of like when you flip the Bible open, just flip it open somewhere and you start reading. Boy, the Holy Spirit's going to jump off that page and it's going to hit you right in the heart and tell you what you need to be doing.
Every time. It's the mirror that we need to look in more than ever. That's good advice right there. I feel like that our priorities always get the quest to be a winner.
Yeah.
Winner has sidelined a lot of good coaches.
Yeah.
Because I remember once Dean Smith said one time, you remember Dean Smith coaching North Carolina, great man. And he said, if you're going to live and die with wins, you're going to die a lot. And that's the truth, because how many times, I go back in my life, I guess my teams have been successful, but the last game we play most every year, we lose.
Right.
There's only a one team in each league that wins their last game. And so this quest for wins it's a byproduct. If we're doing everything right,
yeah,
the byproduct is our teams win games for us. But I think we get out of the process and we get to the end result, and it all becomes this drug that we shoot in our veins.
Yeah.
That just we get addicted to.
I was at a conference. I think it's in Nashville, Tennessee, at the Grand Ole Opry Hotel. And all the coaches are there. It's that huge big lobby up there at Grand Ole Opry. And if you're standing in the lobby, somebody's going to go, "Hey, coach," and 300 people turn around. That kind of deal. And a guy was up there, and he was talking about balance. Do a little bit of balance. And he said something very similar to what you said, Marty. And it kind of like, again, just one of those struck you in the heart kind of deal. He said, if you win your last game, and when you win your last game, you are not a champion. He said, you had a bad year. Okay.
Yeah, he's right.
Yeah. He said, so if you lose your last game, you need to go over and shake that coach's hand and say, I need for you to go win the state championship, because I need for everybody to know it took the best team in the state to knock us out, right? He said, you got to understand what's going on and how this thing works,
That's the truth. Winning is a great thing, but it's not the only thing. And so many coaches have this misconception that winning will make you happy.
Yeah.
It's okay, but I'm telling you, I look back on the things that happened in my career, and it's great to win. I love it. I'm not trying to say it's a bad thing, but I'm trying to tell you that the things that really matter are relationships and change lives, and that's what we got to hang our hats on.
Yeah.
Is relationships, not results not numbers on the scoreboard. That won't keep you above water.
Marty, if I went back and was coaching again today, I would do something that I did my last few years. I wish I had done it the whole time that I was coaching, but I did the last few years, and this is how we teach young people, or I'm going to say the old school, how we teach young people to grow up and take ownership of a ball club or ownership of a team. At the college level, you may have somebody for 4 years, and I think you can teach that leadership. You can teach it through teaching people how to guide others, right? and to teach others in the program, or you can bring people up in the program through belittlement and hazing and things along those lines. Because most of the time, growing up, and you see it in programs everywhere, it's like, freshmen, grab the helmets. Hey, you freshmen over there, make sure you rake the mound out and get it right, so it'll be good for us. Freshmen, pick up the trash in the dugout. Well, I never liked that, but that's kind of the way that we were all raised, if you want to say, and that's how our players were raised. I took my, I want to say it's like the last 2 or 3 years, I took my group of seniors off on a little retreat, and we talked about it. And so those seniors said, "Hey, we're willing to make this change and see what happens." And here's what the change was, Mark. The seniors became the leaders. Like you'd have somebody that was we'll just call them like a supervisor. And they were a supervisor over fixing the mounds, both bullpens and the mound. The juniors, those were the ones that would teach the sophomores how to fix the mound, right? And the freshmen, their job was to just listen, just come to practice, work hard, and listen and watch, right? And at some point, they would say, I want to be a mound guy, or I want to grow up. That guy over there who's in charge of the trash, that junior who's in charge of the trash, they do a great job. They seem to have fun doing it. And, you got a senior who's in charge of making sure the ballpark is clean and the dugouts are part of it. And so your freshmen start looking and asking, I'd like to be on that, that crew. I'd like to be on that crew. And when they come in, the sophomores take them under their wing because now they're juniors, and now the freshmen become sophomores and doing the work, and the juniors are helping them. And you're growing people through guiding and teaching rather than belittling people through hazing. I watched just a short period of time over the last couple of years, and it's like, gosh, I wish I'd been doing this for the last 20 years, right? Watching these older players, the responsibility that they took, and how they grab a young player and kind of bring them over and go, hey, you need to run that ball out. It translated over. Learn how to pick up trash, translated over to where you hit a ground ball, you run hard through the bag because you don't know what would happen. Ball would hit first baseman, it drop out. First baseman would pick it up real quick, and he's still out because my hitter, young freshman, thought he was out, so he starts cruising the last 2 or 3 steps. If he'd run all the way through the bag, he'd have made it. I don't have to say anything. That senior brings him over, and that freshman will be watching that guy and trust him, right? He trusts what he says because there's some faith in there. There's some integrity in what he does. He's picking up trash as a senior and helping. When he pulls that guy over and said, hey, here at Columbus State, we always run all the way through. Doesn't matter how much you get thrown out by, you run all the way through. Got it? And that freshman goes, got it. I watched that transformation. So if I was going to do one thing different, I would start my clubs off that way. Yeah.
How about that? That's a great lesson. That's a great lesson. It's a funny thing that we make in our lives as coaches, in our lives as people. We have to make some of the biggest decisions when we're least prepared. I woke up the other day and I was thinking about that right there because the night before I had read something that someone had written about when we're young, we're not prepared to make some of the big decisions.
Right.
And I got to thinking, that's true in my life. I made some terrible decisions, and even some of the right decisions I made were the wrong motive, but they turned out right.
Right.
So, but there's one decision I made. There's 2 decisions I made in my life when I was 12 years old that have stayed the test of time with me. And one is, one night, a summer night, we had a revival in our little old church in Attapulgos, Georgia, right? And they brought in this preacher. His last name was Pledger from Cairo, Georgia. I couldn't tell you what he preached on. I couldn't tell you anything, but I know it was hot. We didn't have air conditioner, but we had these fans, old Southern churches. And when he gave an invitation, I found myself getting up and going down the aisle. And I accepted Christ at 12. And that's without a doubt the best decision I've ever made. But then the following year, the coach came to me and asked me, "Would you like to be the manager of our basketball team?" Which my brother was on the varsity basketball team. I was just a little kid, And I said, "Yeah." And so there's two things that I still am today. I'm still a Christian. You never can take that away from me. And I'm just a glorified manager. That's all a coach is, That's all we are.
Yeah.
So two of the best decisions I ever made, I made when I was at least prepared. But I think following your logic right there is we learn so much as we coach, learning by doing, don't we?
Yeah.
And we change our methods. How did give me another example, if you don't mind, about how you grew as a coach from that was a great example. What's another one that you grew as a coach and became more effective and more influential?
I think the idea of because I was coming on I was a pitcher, and then I started doing a lot of camps. And during camp, I mean, you're putting it out there. You're A to Z, and you're doing the whole thing. At camp, you only have people for a short period of time. Had a chance to work at Georgia Tech, doing the camps during summer and Christmas camps, and at Clemson and everything. And when I was at Clemson doing camp, it was one thing. A couple of years later, I had the chance to go back to Clemson and be the pitching coach at Clemson. And I was teaching the pitchers at Clemson, kind of like with the campers. And Bill Wilhelm, who'd been there a long time, he said, why are you telling that guy this, or why are you telling that guy that, or you talk about his hands here, talk about that. I said, well, because that's how we teach at camp, and we want our players to be as best they can be and such. And he said something to me, and it really totally changed how I move forward. He said, "This ain't camp. We went out and we recruited people that have some skill." He said, "You're not going to teach them the way that you do campers. You teach them what they need to know, not everything you know." And I thought that was an interesting statement. Teach them what they need to know, not everything you do know. And as a young coach, and even though he said that, I had it in my head, there's something about young coaches, okay, because I was one, that we feel like we got to, when we're coaching and we're talking to parents or whatever, we got to tell everybody everything that we know about the game, because it's kind of like putting our resume out there. See, I know how to run bases. I know how to do this. Pitching, the boom, 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 hitting, getting the hands back. We got to tell everybody everything we know so that they believe in us, right? And what we really need to do is forget about trying to put us out there and say, what do they need? And so that I started thinking about that. This guy, all he needs is for me to give him confidence. This guy over here, he actually does need to change his arm angle. He's not going to be effective at that arm angle with the way that his body naturally moves. So it's like giving people what they need, not what you want to give them, or not everything that you know.
That's big right there. And I think sometimes too, a lot of young coaches, I know I was guilty of it, we just like to give our team an idea how much we know. We want to, hey, I know a lot. And so we talk too much, we talk too much and we don't teach enough.
Right.
We hear a lot and we don't listen. It's like Yogi Berra said, you can hear a lot by just listening. Exactly. And I think sometimes we don't listen. Well, Chip, it was great
yes,
having you here tonight. We got to start wrapping up here, but I don't feel like we finished. Few times I don't think we finished this game. This is like a rain out that we gotta come back on. And so
it's a suspended game. It's the fifth inning. Inning.
Rain check here on this one and come back in about a month. And let's do this again. You want to?
I would like to. I would love to, Marty. Absolutely love to.
And this crazy idea just entered my mind when you first started talking. What if we had you and Kyle at the same time? How would that be?
That would be great. We went into business together for a while. We had the baseball center, and so we were stood side by side in cages and such, and we talked baseball all day. We had kids all day. Uh, that would be fun. I'm telling you, that would be absolutely fun. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to start working on that. Let's
Yeah.
let's get in August. Let's see. Kyle will be starting pretty soon, getting real busy. I know, but
Yeah.
we need to set that up. That'd be a great show. Reese squared or whatever we want to call it. You know.
That'd be
But
fantastic.
I just want you to know how much I appreciate you, and
Sure.
you really are a servant leader, and I feel blessed to have you on the show here. I guess we also need to say too that it's great. Let's congratulate the Lions for winning the championship last night in Virginia. Big win, 49-46, a real nip and tuck game. That was a barn burner, wasn't it? That was a real win. And Corey Black, it seems like everything he touches turns to gold. No matter where he is, they're going to win. And congratulations to Mr. Beck and to Damian Daniels, to Corey, all those players. That's a great bunch of guys, and that's a big. We can hang our hat on that one in Columbus because we've never done it before.
Yeah. Yeah, we will. Well, Marty, it's an absolute honor, man. I love you, brother, and I look forward to the next time. And hey, I'm gonna throw this in. At some point, we need to just get in the same room, just do this in the same room. That'd be fun too.
Yeah, I think we could probably arrange that. Thrift and Richard, who are the brains behind this, they've offered their studio for us to do that in Columbus, so we could do that sometime. It's amazing how this simple podcast on the simple concept of a servant leader coach has grown exponentially. Our viewing audience is just unbelievable how it's grown. And here's the thing. We really don't know what the heck we're doing. I mean, if we really knew what we were doing, there's no telling. Well, we might mess it up then. But
well, hey, let me throw this out here because I know you won't do it, but I'm sitting here looking at More Than Winning by Marty Durden, right? And a book that you wrote that I think is just incredible. And then the curriculum about coaching and the student guide and the teacher's guide on really how to be a godly coach and how to raise godly players that are going to be impactful in the community. And I would encourage all of you, get in touch with Marty and find out. You can find him on Amazon. If you put his name out there on Amazon, you're going to find his books, and they are good reads. They will help you a lot. So sir, you're a good writer. You're a good man. It's an honor.
I appreciate that, brother. And I love you. And I'm going to say, somebody out there listening is going to have an opportunity this week. They're going to see somebody in need. They're going to see an opportunity to help somebody, an opportunity to step up. Yeah. We would love you. Step up, make a difference. Thank you for listening. God bless y'all.